the headlines that it deserves. The Foreign Ministry is only a part of what Romania is doing in climate and climate change and climate diplomacy. I'm here with my former colleague from the Foreign Ministry and currently in the Ministry of the Environment, who will speak about what the Ministry of the Environment is doing with the support from the Foreign Ministry on a great deal of initiatives. Just because there are so many young people in the room, maybe they are not all familiar with how the Foreign Ministry is organized in the climate diplomacy. We have a network of climate missions abroad, where we have diplomats that are paying a close attention to the developments in climate change in the countries where they work, and they inform the Foreign Ministry, and in their turn they carry out our initiatives and our démarches when they happen. And we have a few examples in this regard. In COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, we organized a high-level roundtable on climate education. That was an opportunity for us to present what we do and also to liaise and to create new connections with countries that have a similar interest. It was a very good event because climate education was a non-controversial issue. Everybody could rally behind the need of more education of how to prepare younger generations to deal with the climate crisis. And also action. Being more proactive means that something has to go on in the country in other areas, so we can promote them abroad. It's not always just a matter of rallying behind somebody else's initiatives. Sometimes you have to have your own initiative and to be able to present it in our contacts. And I just have one example, a German initiative called Climate for Peace. It was an initiative that we joined, I think in 2023, and how we could do that. Of course, we were invited by the German Foreign Ministry. That was an initiative that they were very proud of, that was launched after their presidency at the G7. And this initiative had a number of actions that we could very much participate in, and there were two projects that were carried out under the raw aid financing in forestry and biodiversity conservation for the Republic of Guyana and Suriname, and another one in the integrated management of river sea systems in the Republic of Ecuador. So those were two projects that were carried out by several institutions in Romania. One was the Universitatea Transilvania from Brașov, and the other one was Institutul Național de Cercetare Dezvoltare pentru Geologie și Geoecologie Marină, GECOMAR. So it's easy to have an active and a proactive climate diplomacy when there are things that are happening in the country and then can be later on used in our international démarches. How can we make this better? Of course, we have to have dedicated diplomats. Diplomats, par excellence, they are journalists. They handle every issue, as the ambassador so astutely presented their Brazil's priorities for COP. Diplomats deal with a wider range of issues, so they're not necessarily experts in one field, but that doesn't mean that they cannot very much promote Romania's climate objectives and climate initiatives. And I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it was. I think this shows once again two not different perspective, but two different perspective from different people can really interlink. And I think the panel really has begun to see some similarities here. So what I noted here are Romania has a lot of examples. Maybe we're not communicating them as much. And I think the climate missions and the diplomacy network is such a good thing that we can discuss and expand on in the next minutes. And also, I think going further, I would love to see and hear about the opportunities from your perspective, Mr. Zaharia. Thank you.
Very much, and thank you very much for inviting the Environment Ministry to take part. I need to express the apologies of Minister Buzoianu. She would have loved to come. She would have loved to come to deliver an introductory speech.
Maybe a bit closer, yeah.
Right. To deliver an introductory speech. She will be most likely. Can you?
I think we have a technical problem with the microphone. That's sharing. Thank you so much.
All right.
Really appreciate that.
Now we can hear each other.
Thank you.
All right. So she would have loved to come here to deliver a speech. Most likely she will be heading the Romanian delegation to Belém. And she's very much looking forward to discussions. We are trying to schedule a meeting with the Brazilian Minister of Environment. And the minister is really, as most of you have seen, really engaged into environmental issues, and she would love to exchange with Minister Silva her experience in the Brazilian context. Now, coming back to the climate change and the climate change negotiations, the climate diplomacy, as my colleague Tatiana was saying, it's in the foreign ministry, the issue of climate and environment has been dealt in several departments, including the department which I was heading for a while, the treaty department, because environmental regulation, environment moves at the international level, particularly through treaties. So this is mostly treaty law. And we were discussing about COP. It's the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Again, a treaty. Then we have the Paris Agreement, the Paris Accord, a treaty, and the Kyoto Protocol. So again, a treaty. So in this capacity, I was into environmental treaty negotiations. Then I moved to the Environment Ministry because this has always been, of course, the first actor in this negotiations has always been the Ministry of Environment, and I wanted to assist them, to help them in better improve the capacity of the ministry in negotiating all these sometimes very technical issues. And I think this is, and continuing the positive spin that Tatiana gave, I think that the great asset that we still have in the authorities, in the ministries, are some very dedicated people. On climate change, not many, unfortunately, but on climate change, on chemicals, environmental impact assessment, and others. And these people are practically on a daily network. They are integrated in a daily network of exchanging views among themselves, but also with their colleagues in the European Union. Because this is one of the points that I wanted to make. Climate regulation and climate negotiations has become it's an EU policy. And Councillor Frățineanu was mentioning the European climate law, which we are currently negotiating to amend, following a proposal from the European Commission. And this is one of the essential aspects that we take into account. First and foremost, we are in the European Union negotiating among ourselves to present a common position at Belém in Brazil. And as you all know, the EU has taken this leading role at the forefront of climate change measures. And this has not in always, it's not easy to implement in practice. We have, as Romania and as Eastern European countries, we had this advantage that was negotiated in the UNFCCC process of targets that take into account a baseline it's very advantageous to us. But this advantage has passed, and now we are at the point where we have to take some very forceful, I would say, measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And in this context, and this has been one of the advantages of the climate change negotiation process, that solutions for doing this are incredibly smart. And the mechanisms that were developed along the way, so these COPs have this essential role of developing this very complex mechanism to address climate change emissions reductions, to address monitoring, to address compliance, and so forth. And we in the network are able to exchange with some very dedicated people, but also very smart people, who are able to put together some solutions that we could use together in dealing with climate change from a policy perspective. And then, of course, from a regulatory perspective, which is again very important in the economic context. So that would be my intervention.
And thank you for the reflection. What I noted here, you mentioned, and I think all of you so far mentioned a lot about collaboration and interministerial coordination, but going to the EU level as well, but to the global level, having these interdependencies of the view and reflections. So you were talking a lot about regulations and negotiation processes, which are pretty much the essential part of everything. I cannot wait to go a little bit deeper into the subject, but going to Mr. Antonescu, I would ask the same question to open the floor. Thank you so much.
You hear me? Yeah, my perspective, it's...
So sorry for that, I think.
So my perspective is from academia and from research into this. Obviously, there are a lot of connection between the scientific community and this part of climate diplomacy, but I would say that it's not explored enough. So there are many opportunities now in the climate community in Romania. Probably many of you know that we have a lot of experts in very exotic parts of climate change and very important parts of climate change that are once this increase of global mean temperature will increase, you will see that some of this will become relevant, like tipping points of a climate system and so on. So it's a lot of expertise currently now, and it's a new generation that is coming now with a lot of inputs from like PhD students working on different topics of climate change. But we are in a way favored because the position of Romania, the geographic position of Romania, gives us all the extreme weather events and the impact from climate change. So we can study this in details. So I would say, to be brief, that this part can be explored more, and the scientific community can contribute more to these negotiations. Obviously, there are institutes that contribute to COP and so on, but there is a large scientific community in Romania now working on climate change, and not only climate change, but aspects related to climate change, for example, like pollution and so on. So that's my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone. I think this ties up very amazingly the first part of our conversation. And I think we have some opportunities actually on paper right now. Hopefully we can, share them afterwards to see what we discussed about. I think what you said, Mr. Antonescu, it's about expertise, and there is expertise, but maybe not a lot of collaboration, and maybe there's the main opportunity to do so. So being mindful of time, because this conversation conversation can last a long time with passionate and involved people in these subjects. I will go further with the specific questions, and I will try to combine them to make sense for the conversation and for you to, at the end, to ask some questions. So going to Mrs. Frasinano again, I would go with a combination of how can coordination across ministries and agencies or the relevant actors in the ministerial coordination can be strengthened. And then also the key steps to coherence amid political or institutional changes. Maybe the consistency, or what's your take on that? That would be very interesting to find out your take on strengthening, but also consistency and representation. You spoke about it already, but maybe going deeper into the subject. Thank you.
Thank you also. I just reminded that that we really have a climate diplomacy because, as you remember, at COP28, I think, in Dubai, yes, our president signed a treaty or US initiative related to global methane pledge. And as we already know, all of us, methane is one of the most polluted greenhouse emission. And it was a result, signing this initiative, it was a result of our diplomacy in climate change, of course. But also, we have another initiative from the Ministry of Energy, because in August, Ministry of Energy just published a proposal, a law proposal regarding Energy Charter Treaty, because you already know that the European Union and Euratom makes the step and sign out from this treaty. And the Ministry of Energy, of course, with the help of other people, took this as an opportunity to make something different. And I believe that when the Romanian Parliament will approve this kind of law, we'll have some other perspective in energy sector. But let's say something about the efficient coordination process, because maybe it was a thought, and I believe that my colleague Zelinka, who is here in the room, is a young colleague that would like to have some opportunities to work in this climate diplomacy area, proposed me permanent interministerial mechanism, just like a national climate negotiation committee. What do you think about this? Because in this kind of committee, we have the opportunity to have experts, private sector, maybe university, why not? And member of the central public authorities and agencies related to this domain. And we can set through this committee an official position, and we can learn more about each other in this kind of committee. Think about it. Can be a proposal, and we will embrace it. But until then, I have to say that we have some kind of coordination at the prime ministerial level, because we have an connected committee for climate change, interministerial committee for climate change. Sorry, but I'm not in my best form because of my Spain. I have some problem. Okay, and in this committee, we try to set a lot of rules related to our steps in climate change and in private sector in order to have a better policies implemented in our economy. And this committee, this interministerial committee, has also adopted this year and last year a plan of priorities. And we are now at, I think, 60% of this measure already implemented, not only in our legislation, but in our private sector. And I believe that this is the best way to deal with this climate diplomacy. But because in this committee, we'll try to set also the Romanian position at COP30, because we have to have this all kind of institution, and not only institution, to have to send us their position, and in order to be put it in our position for this COP30.
I got that. Thank you so much for ensuring that the answer is robust, because I asked you two questions in one in a way. So I understand that we have, and just sharing with the public, we have some coordination. We have some instruments. It is real need for coordination at maybe a more national level, I would say, but also local and decentralized. But this would be an opportunity as well. And you talked about the cooperation, the leadership that Romania had, and maybe how to strengthen that. And then you talked about the achievements and the objectives that we have as well, maybe communication in terms of what we are doing and we are actually achieving would help a lot with the population as well as the experts, and how can they get to you to where the decision is made and help or support technically.
Now, you already know that my door, my personal door from my office was all the time open for this kind of initiative, mostly from your side, from our side of young people. And you know that I do it all that I can to support you and to be present, because I know that beyond the opportunity to tell about your worries and to tell about your concern or your action, you need to be you need to have a better support from the authority. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. You highlighted exactly what we were saying about coordination. So I'd go be mindful of time, and I wanting you to have the opportunity to ask questions. I would go to Mrs. Tatiana, and I would just try and merge the two questions. So what would you think are the key elements needed for Romania to consolidate its position, but also the experience that we have with the network that you were talking about, launch in 2021, if I don't remember wrong. Exactly. And yeah, maybe working more on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, the experience of the pilot network, it's a positive one, because again, it sort of structures what we do in the foreign ministry, both the headquarters and the missions abroad in climate change. We know that there are dedicated diplomats who are following the issue, and from an institutional point of view, that is sort of the best way to go around. But I will stop a little bit, and I will go back to what Councillor Frăsinanu just said, and to underline again how important CISC is, because I think you're referring to CISC. We know it as the Comitetul Interinstituțional pentru CISC. Yes. It's instrumental in bringing all the central institutions together and keep them focused on what we need to do, what our commitments are in terms of climate change. Since you mentioned the global pledge for methane, this is, and you mentioned engagement. This is what we do, and Romania is engaged in a large number of initiatives. And I will just very quickly just read the headlines of them, because they are very numerous, and they will give you a little bit of a sense of what we do. Paris Agreement on Climate Change, Global Offshore Wind Alliance, International Solar Alliance, Glasgow Leaders Declaration on Forest and Land Use, UN Group of Friends on Climate and Security, Climate for Peace Initiative that I just mentioned, UN Group of Friends on Climate and Security, Geneva Pledge for Human Rights in Climate Action, High Ambition Coalition to End Plastic Pollution, Ocean Conservation Pledge, Protecting the Ocean, Time for Action, High Ambition Coalition on Biodiversity Beyond the National Jurisdiction, Declaration on Zero Emissions in Shipping by 2050, Agricultural Innovation Mission for Climate. These are just a few. Indeed, engagement is one of the key words. And as far as the foreign ministry is concerned, yes, I think the network, I don't think we call it pilot anymore because it's been up and running. It's doing a very good job. Thank you.
Really, thank you for that. And I think you need to share the list with us so we know already and we can, communicate from this event. Thank you so much. I really wanted to, go further with one follow-up question very shortly, because I think everything makes sense with everything that you said already. So what kind of support structures or maybe training or capacity mechanisms or resources we need, and we can help to create a professional community of maybe climate negotiators or climate technical experts inside or outside the ministries?
As far as climate negotiations, I think Felix would be in a better position to say how can we support better climate negotiators.
Thank you. I think this kind of discussions that we are having are extremely useful for us. It's because we are overwhelmed with all the environmental issues that we have to deal with, and climate change is just one of them, incredibly complicated, but just one of them. Organizing from coming from the authorities, the initiative to organize this debate poses a simple logistical challenge. So there is not enough time for the few experts that I mentioned to also deal with the logistical aspects of organizing, of bringing the people together. But having the discussions is essential for us to start preparing the frameworks of the Romanian position, which then goes into the EU position, and then it's presented further. So I think this is the essential contribution, bringing all of us together from various authorities. Yes, we meet, we coordinate all the time, but we don't have the discussion amongst ourselves. The discussions are of course of a technical nature, and we are also concerned about our competencies, and each ministry has its own priorities, and the priorities of the Minister's Environment do not always match with other ministries' priorities. We were discussing with the Ministry of Agriculture, and for us, methane gas emissions we need to reduce them, but the Ministry of Agriculture thinks of cattle and the number of cattle that needs to increase. So this is one of the debates that we are having. So bringing us together in a less formal setting with your experts that can bring different perspectives into the discussion, I think it's essential for us moving forward.
So this is kind of the question following to you, and then it's good that we combined and merged. I wanted to not to challenge you, but to ask you, maybe not concretely, because we are not here to discuss concrete action, but we are here to discuss and maybe debate. It already started. How would you see this happening? What would be the ideal, I don't know, next step or opportunity for us to, engage a bit more, but also create capacity in any way, shape, or form, even if it's low?
So yeah, building on what I've just said, even if having this discussion, for example, in the presence of the Brazilian ambassador, who puts forward the Brazilian perspective on the negotiations, and every country hosting the negotiation has done this, is crucial. It is for the very first time that we have such a clear view and choosing Belém as the city host of the COP has been a great, despite the logistical problems that we are all aware of, but has been a great initiative of the Brazilian presidency, future Brazilian presidency, because it brings countries who are negotiating into the mindset of the region, of a crucial region of our planet that influences the climate change, the climate system. And for us Romanians, it's exotic. I mean, we have to admit it. It's very exotic, and this is why having this kind of discussions here is essential. I think I wouldn't have had the time to meet His Excellency, and I'm very sorry for that. But and to discuss about COP, because everything is so busy. So I'm sure the minister would have loved to meet, but of course the door is always open. And I thank you, and I thank the institute for hosting us. So that, again, what I have just said, it's essential for us. Thank you.
So to sum up very shortly, conversations like this, debates, but also having, involving and initiating some kind of conversation with different sectors like this one, but maybe sometimes more informal.
Not only state actors and but also the private sector. We are relying, and this is one of the priorities that the Brazilian presidency has put forward, the involvement of the private sector. And this is because we see that in the negotiations themselves, we have reached the point where it's so difficult for us to reach an agreement. You were mentioning the yeah, we are having in mind the withdrawal of the United States from the Paris Agreement. The difficulties of you most likely have followed the proceedings before the International Court of Justice. So another avenue of having this discussions, so trying to have various avenues, and now we have this very strong message from Brazil that we should get the private sector into the discussion. We should also get the cities, that they play the other sub-statal authorities, the provinces, everyone who can do something to be involved and to participate in the decision making, but also in the effort sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Yes, I just wanted to jump in because you mentioned capacity building. I compare a little bit this climate change ecosystem with the energy one that is very active. They're meeting together all the time. You have an opportunity to meet other experts in energy, private companies, and you hear a lot of points of view, and that's extremely helpful. I'm not sure this is happening in the climate change ecosystem, whether the people who are involved. I was really happy to hear from Professor Antonescu that there are experts that maybe we can draw from their expertise. It will be very nice to meet them and to have opportunity to exchange views. So at least we know, where we are and who could be the people that we can go with a question. Maybe they can come to us with an initiative or a solution to something that we face.
No, exactly. It really naturally became a very meaningful conversation and also some recommendations for the public and not only for the public institutions as well. I think going to not the other side, I would not say that because we are always dividing, but maybe another perspective. Thank you.
Another perspective regarding this collaboration, right? We need to know each other, right? But unfortunately, in the scientific community, we don't know each other very well. This is a problem because we tend to work in these small pockets or silos. Everyone is doing his own research, he's publishing papers, he's going to conferences, he's writing a proposal for a research project, and that's it. And we don't tend to communicate among us very well, or especially outside the community. And this is what I think we are missing. This like a stable and routine channel that is coming from research or academia going to policymakers that put it in general. Another thing that maybe this communication is not very well is because the way in which scientists are communicating to the large audience. We write papers and the papers are read by other scientists, so we are fine with that. But we don't tend to simplify these papers or translate the results into something more concrete. For example, when I say most of the time that there is an increase in 1.5 degrees, it's nothing. But if I say that this will lead to more heat waves, maybe again is nothing. But if I say that this is leading to more fatalities, and Romania is one of the countries strongly affected by this fatality to heat waves, this is more impactful. So this is the way that we should communicate. There are more and more papers now, especially specifically for Romania, not the large community, that tend to have at the end not recommendation, but some ideas for policymakers. I know colleagues of mine that are doing exactly this. So with the idea that right, we have some money from a research project, we are studying. I'm returning to heat waves again. Maybe we can be more specific towards policymakers about our result and so on. So this channel needs to be from our part. And again, this communication will help us as well because maybe there is something from the policymakers that we can help with designing studies or focusing on some aspects that are not very interesting for the scientific community because maybe these are results that were published before for other countries. So we don't tend to do these studies, but for publishing because this is the academia, publishing or perish. This is maybe not in Romania as much, but outside this is true. But we can do all sorts of research. And again, yes, there is an increasing community. I will end it with this. Very soon there will be a center of excellence in Romania combining climate change and societal aspects, and this would be like let's put it like a hub, bringing researchers specifically from climate sciences, but also historians, linguists, mathematicians, in topics related to climate change. Maybe this will help making this connection better.
Think because I used to be a researcher and a teacher at the Faculty of Geography. I really understand you and your position and just why the Prime Minister Cancellery was part of a project with the Norwegian Institute of Research and universities. And I think that in February already launched a guide related to the researcher. And the most important underline and the most important conclusion from this guide is that we need to go from fundamental research to applied research.
Yeah.
Just what you said. Then you'll find some recommendation and some good recommendation made with the Norwegian perspective and knowledges in this guide. And I think that this recommendation can be used in order to have a stronger position and help the authority to take the better solution and to have a stronger position in this kind of negotiation. And it can be read by everybody. You'll find this guide on our website. And please read it and give us the feedback, because we really need to know if we have to develop something and to make some other policies and make some other projects, and to take into account other expertise from national or European level, and not only from the European level. Thank you.
This is very important. And the guide, you said that it was like kind of co-created. So I think co-creation could be a good keyword of this session, but also collaboration, but also a little bit more of understanding what's happening, because it's, subjects like this can be very complex. So we need to kind of look into it a bit closer. And Bogdan was mentioning, the 300 pages, and I see the IPCC reports as well. They're like big, but also what they're doing nowadays for the public as well is to summarize that. And I think that's, bringing a bit of the communicational side in this region. Well, we are talking about Romania now, so I will go to a follow-up question to Bogdan. I think it ties up to the debate that we had. Okay. I would merge, how can scientific evidence and research can be better integrated? And then what are the opportunities for closer collaboration? I think you touched upon, but I think going into it a bit deeper.
Yeah, I said that channel that I mentioned, that's the main point. I think we are doing now research that can help, not especially with policymakers in mind, but research that will show what is happening with climate change, or what is the impact in Romania at the moment, but also using this climate simulation for the future. So this knowledge is there and can be used as well. And as I said at the first question, we are in a very nice position to conduct all sorts of studies that can be very, very useful. But we need to change in academia as well. So this is something that we need to do to see in the future, because it's not, we cannot blame nobody's reading our studies, but we need to be more proactive, as you mentioned, like the IPCC is doing. But from my point of view, even the policy, the summary for policymakers in the IPCC, it's quite complicated, or it used to be very complicated in previous iterations. So something more direct, like a 2-page or something like that, that can be not completing the science, but maybe finding other ways of expressing the result into a more impactful way.
And I will open the floor in a minute for discussions, because our time is almost there. But I would go with this idea just a little bit for the help and support for maybe national mandates for climate negotiations. Not going into too deep, but I would ask what's the opportunity to include more perspectives, I think. And maybe you said that sometimes the technical people do not have time, and we all understand that. But is there an opportunity? Maybe just an open question. Thank you.
Thank you. I was drafting what should go for approval as a mandate. I think I will take this up in. I used to teach at the University of Bucharest, and we used to organize with the student Model United Nations Conference. And whenever I tried to have climate change as a debate with various mandates given to students, we would always end in a deadlock. So it's very complicated in terms of drafting the mandate, because the positions are so different. It's incredibly hard to put together something that is coherent when you have these very, very different positions. And this is why in the climate change negotiations, we have always relied on trying to change human behavior. It seems to be almost impossible. So then now we are looking into, and this is another area where we would really need help. It's technology. as humans, we have always relied on technology to save us from various challenges that we have on this planet. It seems that again we are relying on technology. We hope, for example, we put a lot of hopes into the carbon capture and storage technologies. The EU is putting these hopes, but again, we are at the forefront of what could be done. We're not sure yet. A debate on this, bringing scientists and engineers at the table, would be again very useful. Thank you.
Much for going a little bit in depth in that. And yeah, it is a complex world, but we opened the discussion and I would love to give the floor to Radu. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
One is coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very interesting, and we are grateful to you all for the insightful points you made. I would just like to follow up briefly a bit on Bogdan's concern about the right way to engage the policymakers, how to maybe better translate the scientific results into, let's say, meaningful measures and actions eventually. And your take, Bogdan, was maybe you ought to be a bit grimmer, as it were. So think of it, dead bodies, casualties. I mean, this sort of
Example.
yeah. I'm not sure because I mean it's impactful, no doubt, but then you have those already denouncing the apocalyptic slant, so they are skeptical anyway, and then here they are trying to scare us off again. I mean, it's not working. Maybe it is, but a proposal from my experience. One example, I was part of a working group a couple of years ago at the presidential administration. We worked for about 6 months or so on a report on the state of climate in Romania. There was the former presidential council for climate change and heading this, and the experience was nice. There was a team of academics and scientists, national and international Romanians, okay, from various foreign universities, policymakers, few think tanks, and so on. And the early engagements were like this. We were discussing basic statements of EU policy, for instance. And then some, let's say, scientists, Romanian scientists from Paris, for instance, would say, I don't even understand what you're talking about. What is this net zero? This is a concept that scientifically makes no sense. And I thought, my God, isn't this a wise guy? I mean, this approach would lead absolutely nowhere. Because if your take as a scientist is to absolutely go against the very entrenched, policy concepts and try to dismantle them and discuss the basic function, role, and then meaning. This is a dead end. Instead, you should work with them, imperfect as they are, accept their limitation. You as a scientist know better what those are. Treat them as proxies for better concepts and mechanisms that you have in your theories. And at the end of the day, it is up to the scientist to learn and speak the language of the decision maker. If you want to make an impact, write something concise in the language that the decision maker has on their agenda. In those words, don't twist them too much. So use their vocabulary, use their words. Do not preach, do not send bibliography. Here, these are the 10 articles. And I see that often. I see scientists across the country saying, Mr. Minister, here are 2 articles that would shed some light on. Come on, do you think any minister will sit after hours to read your papers? I mean, so unless you're able to make this sort of bridging and use their language, use their concerns, use their priorities, and inject the kind of practical knowledge that you have, it's the communities will remain apart, divided. Scientists doing their work and complaining that they're not paying attention to. Politicians, decision makers simply not knowing about those guys, and so just a suggestion. And but then, of course, it's not that easy because the mission of the university must be redefined. Our universities are not used to getting engaged into the agora, as it were, into the problems of the day. Mm-hmm. It's not our business to discuss, potentially contentious issues and so on. But then, who else is going to offer, the guidance? Okay, I'll stop here. I think it's worthwhile reflecting upon.
You were tying up the conversation and we are at the conclusions and remarks. So here, please, one question from the ambassador. Thank you so much.
Hello. Well, thank you very, very much indeed for sharing your views with us today. And yes, well, the 2 words that come up from sharing your views with us is, communication and coordination. Of course, these are the key words. As far as Brazil is concerned, we have struggling to do that in Brazil for the last 30 years since we organized the Rio Summit back in the 1990s, and we're still struggling to improve this coordination and communication process in Brazil in order to make information and negotiation positions more fluid among the private, public, and academic sectors, and not forgetting the NGOs, because this is probably the most challenging partner in this coordination process, is how to include the NGOs in these discussions and in this. And it is not an easy task. And Brazil knows very well how difficult it is to do that, but we are still improving in this sense. And you were right, Mr. Dodo, when you said, we need a more efficient narrative or efficient speeches about climate change that the public, the audience, can understand. The climate skeptical narrative, or the skeptical climate scientists do this very well, and they know how to use punchlines to say, well, climate change doesn't matter. It's not an issue. It's not anything that matters or need our attention, and maybe. We need to make it more affordable or more popular to the normal people that are not scientists or are not technical in this, or don't know technical words concerning climate diplomacy or climate. And I was very, very happy more than happy to know that, the Minister of Climate, of Environment is heading the Romanian delegation to Brazil in a few weeks, in 3 weeks. I only hope that you also will attend this leader summit. That is one of the sessions is going to be dedicated to multilateral cooperation on the preservation and sustainable exploitation of forests, reminding that Romania has the most important primate forest in the European Union. And so this will be a very important moment for Romania maybe to share its views and its opportunities and challenges concerning forests in the European Union, among other participants of the COP30 in a few weeks. Again, we'll thank you again for sharing your views, and we'll be looking forward to welcoming the Romanian delegation in Belém. It's true, it has been a challenge. Logistics has been a challenge. Belém is not like Rio or São Paulo. It's not like the short video I have just shown you. It's in the middle of the Amazon forest. So, but that was a trade-off, to logistic against, bringing the participants of this COP30 to the real thing and to the real deal, which is the forests and how in the middle of the Amazon. And even if the logistics has been a challenge, we are trying very hard to tackle this problem and to welcome all of you, and especially Romania, for this next chapter of the COP30 in November. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tying up everything together and also highlighting again the importance of cooperation and multifaceted maybe approaches and the frameworks as well. Very happy to hear that and to hear your thoughts. So maybe I'm opening the floor to any other questions as well. We have a little bit of time. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Daniela Smetanova from the Czech Embassy in Bucharest. I would like to thank you for organizing this debate. It was super interesting. And I have maybe two questions. Maybe following the ambassador, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned cooperation between ministries and academia. I wanted to ask you if there are any network in cooperation with civil society in Romania, how it works, if you can elaborate on that. And also, as you mentioned, climate diplomats within the embassies around the world, if they are really dedicated to the climate as it is, or they are part of like a political diplomat also covers climate as we do, or if Romania has really dedicated climate diplomats, that would be interesting for me to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that. Whoever would like to take the floor.
I will pick up the second part of your question regarding the diplomats. No, they are diplomats that deal with a lot of issues. You hear me? Yeah. Our embassies are not that large to can afford to have people dedicated to a single issue. Usually they cover more, and it's also an expression of personal interests. There are people that either have a background, some educational background in this, or just have an interest in the climate change issues, and they are the ones that are covering the issue at the embassy. We had, I think, about 40 embassies in this network. It also has to do with the country where they work, whether that's an important issue for that particular country, and we had a very successful example in Denmark. Our embassy in Copenhagen was one of the most active embassy in this network, because Denmark is a leading country in this issue as well. And as far as the cooperation with the NGOs, there were various ad hoc formats. Maybe one of them was mentioned by Mr. Dudeau, but I don't think there's something that's structured than something that's permanent.
Anyone would like to take the floor and maybe the approach with the civil society, not only probably the NGOs, but anything as such? Thank you.
You have seen that the Ministry of Environment has been engaging with NGOs. I think we we haven't had a climate discussion. We have been concentrated on forests, if you have seen, and bears particularly. But yes, it's very, so it has been the minister's priority to engage the NGOs, the civil society in general, into the environmental discussions. This would be one of them, but it's not only NGOs. So at this table we should have the as I was mentioning, the private sector, the industry, because it's them whom we are requiring to take active measures to combat climate change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we want to follow up? I mean, Bogdan, do you want to come from the other side as well? Maybe to, no? From the NGO sector to how you feel like you were engaging a bit.
With NGOs, yes, there is collaboration, of course. Into this, when they write reports or they need data or all sorts of details, there is a very good collaboration in this way. Yes.
Very much for the very relevant questions to the discussion. Maybe opening the floor to more questions. Don't feel free. It's an open discussion, so no hands raised. Maybe perfect. We have there. Please specify your name first. Thank you so much.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Morascu Julia, and I'm a student at the University of Bucharest at the Faculty of Political Science. We mentioned climate and security and how they're related, and recently security is all that the European Union has been talking about. And my question would be, how can we translate the dialogue we have on climate change as a matter of security into actual functional policies and maybe more action? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the question. Someone has some thoughts or any opinions? Thank you.
Very good question, and we have to talk about it because until now we didn't have any kind of action or discussion related this issue, but we really need to start our discussion because otherwise the security and climate change and the diplomacy on climate change will remain separated, and it's not quite good because if they will remain separately, we will not be able to ensure the security in our country, and otherwise the private sector will not gain the competitiveness that he really needs.
Thoughts on that maybe? Just opinions if you have. Thank you.
I'll jump in. We are already having the discussion at the European Union level from and so yeah, but I'm at the European level, all EU member states, in the context of security and of the creating this framework for security, for defense, and we are also looking into environmental and climate change regulations, how they could be adjusted, let's say, to address all the security issues that the European Union is facing. So it's an ongoing discussion. It's true that it's a very technical discussion that goes into the regulations themselves, the EU directives and the EU regulation, but it is an ongoing process. Now, in terms of concrete actions and how the two can be linked, I think we're still there is some measures to agree upon, and then there will be action, and this would be the role of everyone present, in fact, to convey their views on what should be done and what they see that could be done, so that these can be taken up into the process of decision making. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for this. And indeed, it was a very good question. Going back a little bit, just because I noted some things here, going back to the collaboration with ministers and the approaches. I would not want to share that much because Radu was very on point with everything. But as EPG, we have a signed protocol as well with the Ministry of Environment, and trying to support them in some technical ways in regards to COP as well and other related issues. So I think this is important, and I think this is the diplomatic approach maybe, or the systematic approach that we need, and could be an opportunity. Just so I remembered. Thank you so much. Any other questions from the room? Hopefully you got, yeah. Oh, I see a lot of hands. Thank you so much. Perfect.
Hello. So my name is Mihai Constantinescu. I'm working for the Romanian Diplomatic Institute. So actually we took notice of what Councillor Frosineanu and also Madam Ambassador Iosipor said about the climate diplomacy. And I will have like a small announcement and also a conclusion, a bit of a conclusion of this event. Thank you so much for choosing us to host this event. But also I would like to announce that together with our friends from Federația Patronală pentru Energie, we are actually organize a training course dedicated, specialized on energy and diplomacy. And I think some of you will be also lecturers or also participants here. And hopefully this will represent a start for a thoughtful discussion on the relations between, the relationship between energy and diplomacy. Thank you so much, and have a nice conference so far.
That really ties up with opportunities as well. This discussion is not only a debate, but also, opportunities, shared opportunities and visions. I've seen another hand, and maybe taking that one. We have a little bit more time, just 5 to 7 minutes maximum.
Thank you. Thank you for the very interesting discussion and thoughts. I am Tinka Prunea and a researcher at the Romanian Diplomatic Institute. And I have a question that relates to the first remark and perhaps to Mr. Bogdan Antonescu's thoughts. I was wondering, it's also a personal worry perhaps, how one could adapt the discourse in order to make this climate change facts impactful, right, and the conclusions of your research. But on the other hand, avoid eco-anxiety, right, in children and teenagers, which is a very damaging let's say, effect of such a discourse that has a positive intention to make us aware of the urgency, of the dangers, and so on. But on the other hand, right, there is this pitfall of eco-anxiety. Thank you.
Thank you. It is complicated because there are not so many good news from the climate change. If you look at the fundamental climate change, not solution to climate change, there is nothing except for the ozone hole recovery. There is nothing positive, to be honest. Yeah, sorry, positive. Mr. Rudolph said that there was a green perspective, but I was just trying to emphasize in this idea, even for climate scientists, it's sometimes very complicated to work only with bad news because I don't know, when I talk with mass media, with TV station or radio, and I try to communicate stuff, recently I decided to add something good, even if it's a very, very small part, because I'm always ending with this, with messages that go directly to this eco-anxiety. And this is in a way really bad because it can be explored by a climate negation, climate skeptics, let's put it this way. Because you can say, oh, this is only bad news, and it means that there's nothing we can do, so we can go as we are now. So this is a new way of doing this climate skepticism. It's very complicated because on one hand, I want to have a message that rise attention, like, look, this is something that has an impact on day-by-day life, maybe it's human lives, crops, or something like that. But in the same time, I don't know how to make it very very clear that there is hope in that part, because we are doing this in an idea that we can reduce from this impact. This is, unfortunately, I don't know how to do it. This is something that it needs to be done together with psychologists or something, some people in this area, because it is a problem for even for climate scientists to work in this field sometimes, to be honest. It is weird, but yeah, this is the we try to avoid this. I try to avoid this to conclude by including this message that sometimes, look, it is bad, but we can do this, and this means that we can reduce the impact or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it is indeed a very important question. And we see the interdependencies that we spoke about in the first beginning, and coordination of some elements that we need to take into consideration when talking about policy. I will just see if there is any other short question brief. If not, we can, continue after the session with the lunch. So any other? I don't want to miss anyone. Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much. Yeah, of course. Please, Radu, you can take the floor over there.
Just by means of concluding very briefly, we at EPG are very grateful to our hosts, the Romanian Diplomatic Institute colleagues, to our great panelists today, and the audience, of course, which is quite a substantive audience for the topic. In particular, I'm very grateful to the real climate diplomacy team in EPG, led by my colleague Ioana Vasiliu and Elena and Daria. It's a nucleus of people. Katerina from our communication department has been working hard with the counterparts. So my climate diplomacy team will make sure that next year again, this conference will take place just before COP31. We don't know yet where COP31 will be, not even at this point. No, it's either Australia, which is most likely, but Turkey is very adamant. Still, at some point we will know. I think the odds will tip towards Australia for next year. But anyway, we will be here to debate the status just before COP31. So thank you all again, and you are invited to have a bite, I think, or is there? I'm not saying anything wrong here.
No, nothing wrong.
There is.
Just it is. Thank you so much, Radu, and I want to thank you as well, the distinguished speakers, but you as well, and of course, we are inviting everyone to next year. So thank you so much.